here as part of the 26th State Conference of the CPIM, which is being held in the run-up to the 23rd All India Party Congress that we held in the first half of April. In this party congress, the main political resolution that we are going to discuss and adopt revolves around the basic call that the CPIM will give to the people of India, that in today's conditions, it is absolutely essential that the BJP must be isolated and defeated. Because being in charge of the central government, it is actually advancing the Hindutva agenda of the fascistic RSS, whose objective is to replace the secular democratic Indian Republic based on the Indian Constitution with a rabidly intolerant, theocratic, fascistic Hindutva Rashtra. Now this is the negation of the entire history and the genesis of the foundation of modern independent India. And this is not in the interest of keeping the unity and integrity of our country and uniting the immense diversity of our country, which our constitution permitted us for the last 75 years. Now this is a challenge for all Indians, and that is why it is Indian nationalism which has to be proclaimed as opposed to Hindutva nationalism that is being propagated today. To achieve this objective, the CPIM proposes in the draft resolution that the Congress will consider and adopt, that first of all to focus on the strengthening of the independent strength and political intervention capacities of the CPIM. Strengthening the independent strength of the CPIM, its political intervention capacities. Further strengthening the unity of the left forces. On that basis, strengthening the left and democratic forces with an alternative program against this Hindutva agenda, and to forge the broadest front of secular forces to combat the Hindutva offensive. Because this Hindutva offensive is not merely confined to the ideological project of the fascistic RSS, but it is combined with aggressive neoliberal policies, the establishment of a corporate communal nexus. There is a corporate communal nexus that is today looting our country's national assets, privatizing everything that we have built in the last 75 years, and attacking the democratic rights and civil liberties not only of the working class, working people, but of all sections. And the corporate takeover of every sphere of economic activity, and the latest being Indian agriculture. Though the agri laws have been repealed, they are being brought in a different form, in a new manner. And therefore, the repeal of the agri laws was only an electoral gimmick to help the BJP in these assembly elections. So on all these aspects, the undermining of our constitution, on secular democracy, on economic sovereignty, on social justice, and on federalism. On all these four aspects, the people of our country will have to unitedly resist. And that is the main thrust. And within that thrust, in West Bengal, How this will be advanced, this understanding, that is what the state conference is discussing. You'll know the results by what will be the final outcome by tomorrow evening, or maybe day after, by the time we finish our deliberations. And in Bengal, of all the situation that we are saying, is that in addition to all that is happening by the BJP holding on to the central government, we find the ruling party in Bengal adopting methods, and the functioning of it is in a manner which is the complete murder of democracy that is taking place in the state. The recent local body elections, we've had, CPIM has been used to this in the past when Trinamool used to attack and murder our elected, representatives. It happened, that famous case of, you had Jahangir Alam in Hasnabad Panchayat Samiti in 2013. Now again, you have wherever they want to manage to control the corporation or the municipality, the opposition candidates being bumped off. And before that, for the elections itself, not allowing nominations, not allowing people to contest, and intimidating. These have become the standard techniques of the murder of democracy in Bengal. These are exactly, they've gone to the extent of even murdering their own elected people in order to ensure who will control the local body. This is exactly the same pattern that the BJP is doing in the neighboring Tripura now. The attacks against the CPIM, the manner in which our officers are cadred and all these have been unscrupulously attacked. And we had our state conference, and there was a very big rally that was held. The BJP tried to match that rally but failed in terms of the mobilization. So as a result of that, post that rally, you find that all the cadre and the CPM officers were under, again, a murderous assault. So unleashing these sort of fascistic attacks is actually the murder of democracy that is happening. And against that, in the state, the CPIM and the state conference will decide how to effectively face and defeat this sort of a destruction of democracy or the murder of democracy that is taking place in Bengal. Well, you've seen the Anis Khan case, which is not only confined to Bengal, but it's become an all-India issue. We heard the Chief Minister saying that there will be an SIT which will tell us the truth in 15 days. Now 15 days are over. Now they want another 1 month. We have seen the SITs in the past in Bengal under this Trinamool government. In Bengal, the SIT means the suppression of information and truth. SIT. Not a special investigative team. The SIT is the structure to suppress the information and truth and not allow justice to be delivered. And that is happening in this Anis Khan's unfortunate murder case. So in this sort of a situation, this is a big challenge before the party. And the Bengal party is gearing up how to rise to the occasion, face it, go to the people and mobilize the people, and in a democratic manner to defeat these politics of terror and violence, which is what is being practiced today by Trinamool in Bengal, by the BJP in the Tripura, and by all those forces who don't value Indian democracy. Now, post these assembly election results, the third point I want to make is that the aggressiveness of Hindutva has actually sharpened. Immediately after the elections in UP and in the other states that happened this time, you find a very aggressive posturing by the RSS to generate a grand narrative of Indian history. That is, rewrite Indian history. Rewriting Indian history, which means to suit their objective, the study of Indian history will be reduced to the study of Hindu mythology. Ramayana, Mahabharata are the history of India. The study of Indian philosophy, with all the various streams that came together, that is to be reduced to study of Hindu theology. And it is through that this grand narrative is going to be built. And in this, you have the only weapon in their hand is communal polarization. Because this Kashmir files now, the Prime Minister itself appeals to the people, and many BJP governments, state governments have said, waive the entertainment tax on this film. Absolutely, there is no question of very strongly condemning the sort of terrorist attacks that claimed thousands of innocent lives in Kashmir in the past. Kashmiri Pandits were targeted, they had to migrate out of it, and the CPIM was one of the foremost parties that actually worked for their rehabilitation and continues to, along with most of the Kashmiris there, asking the Pandits to return to the valley for their habitation, and all their houses have been preserved there without being encroached or occupied by the local population, so that they'll return there. That is the sentiment. And we've always been supportive. But then why this particular campaign? Only to say that Kashmiri Pandits, when the government of Kashmir now has put out that during these terrorist attacks, the number of people, Kashmiri Pandits who have been killed were 89. While the number of those from other faiths, other than Kashmiri Pandits who have been killed, is 1,635. This is the truth that the Kashmiri administration itself has put out. But the propaganda would be to sharpen Hindu-Muslim polarization. So everything is based only on this particular aspect of sharpening Hindu-Muslim polarization. Your unemployment is galloping. No control over your price rise. Instead of giving relief on the price rise issue, how can relief be given? Central government must scrap all surcharges, all cess on petroleum products. Immediately you will find the rate of inflation falling, because petroleum products price rise, it has a cascading inflationary effect because of the transportation costs going up. The government can do that? No, and it has been earning lakhs of crores of rupees as revenue from central taxes on petroleum products. But for relief, you will not scrap that. Instead, what the government is doing as usual is now it is formulating a new index for wholesale price index, a new series, so that truth can be obfuscated and can be distorted. That is their methodology. Now, with this people's sufferings going up, the discontent among the working class, which is coming in terms of this All India strike on 27th and 28th of this month, 28th and 29th, sorry, 28th and 29th of this month, and then the Kisan, the Sahyog Kisan Morcha, announcing that they are restarting their agitation because the Prime Minister has betrayed them on all the assurances, including the minimum support price, the arrest of the and justice to be delivered in the Lakhimpur Kheri massacre, those murders, compensation to those who lost their lives during this year-long agitation, and withdrawal of cases. Not one of them, anything is moving on. So this Kisan agitation will again, they have decided to restart. What shape it will take, we know. So people's problems growing, and people's movements, struggles, they are bound to increase in the day to come. So in all these things, the CPIM has very clearly said that it supports the working people's demands and will extend all support and solidarity to these actions. But instead of addressing any of these issues, the only issue of concern is to further polarize Indian people through create an atmosphere of hate and violence and sharpen the animosity between Hindus and Muslims in particular, and then Hindus and all other minorities, while sharpening the attacks on Dalits and Adivasis, etc. So the only agenda they have is this communal polarization, which is actually a recipe for destroying the constitutional Republic of India. So that is something which the CPIM is determined to oppose, and that will be done by strengthening people's movements, strengthening struggles, class struggles and mass struggles, and the CPIM shall be in the forefront of leading these struggles and facing the wrath of these anti-democratic forces, whether it be Trinamool in West Bengal or the BJP all over the country. So this in a nutshell is what I wanted to tell you. Even this latest hijab controversy, anything for you to create that cleavage between people of India on the name of Hindus versus minorities, that is Muslims. Wearing a headgear in India is I think a centuries older custom, where not only due to religious reasons, but due to regional reasons, due to identity reasons, and every single princely state had their own turban. It was like the colors of that princely state. So every princely state had their own turbans, and you had from all the Rajput kings, from Maharaja of Jaipur to the Alwar to everybody, to Tipu Sultan, to whether it's Hindu or Muslim or even the headgear of the Christians. Or if you go to Goa, what the Portuguese gave, the sort of headgear that they wear. These are all have been traditional customs in India for centuries. And in North India, every woman wearing a ghungat, which is actually a headscarf, is the natural, normal custom even today. But that you make that into an issue of saying because it gives that Hindu-Muslim tone. Now this is something that is actually destroying the future of India. On one hand you say, Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao. On the other hand, you deny, because of these sort of things, lakhs and lakhs of young girls who happen to be born in Muslim families, their right to education. And we have a proud record. You look at Kerala, the LDF government. The highest female literacy in the country, apart from highest literacy in the country, apart from highest human development indicators on almost everything, the highest Muslim girl literacy in the country is in Kerala, because there are no such controversies. And that is the way modern India will have to be developed, and not through going back into obscurantism and unscientific thinking, which is what they're doing. So it's a big battle. The CPIM is prepared to take on this challenge. And through strengthening people's movements and strengthening ourselves, we'll face this challenge, objective being defeat, isolate and defeat the BJP. Yes.
Sir, as you mentioned that while you were addressing that, secular front to prevent the Hindu politics, are you suggesting bigger alike, like parties like Congress, left, who are mostly non-BJP party, coming together days ahead?
You see, one is your electoral tactics. That is, when the elections come, that will decide where our yardstick has been always. Let's say our basic denominator has been to maximize the pooling of anti-BJP votes in the country and in states, depending on the character of the local state governments, to also maximize the pooling of vote against the state government, the party that leads the state government. So this will be our foundation of our electoral tactics. But this is a larger battle than only elections. Facing the Hindutva offensive would mean the maximization of the unity of all secular forces through a broad front against Hindutva, aggressiveness and its policies. So that is what we are aiming at. When elections come, of course, we will seek the cooperation of all anti-BJP forces. Except, like I said, in the states, depending on the concrete situation. Here it will be maximization of the pooling of anti-BJP, anti-TMC votes. And in final analysis, you will find even in here, the TMC as actually and the BJP follow the same methods of attacking and destroying democracy.
How do you see the standing of Aam Aadmi Party in a state like West Bengal after, they got a victory in Punjab, now they are stepping ahead in West Bengal, stating that they want to change, bring a change in this?
When they tried doing this in 2014, they put up candidates and the units emerged all over India, even in Kerala. They fought the elections. In Maharashtra, in Pune, in various places. Good. In a democracy, every party has the right to expand. So what happened in Punjab this time, you'll have to properly understand. The people of Punjab rejected very decisively both the traditional parties, that is the Congress and the Akali Dal. And in that rejection, the neighboring government of Delhi and the policies it followed, free water, free electricity, improved schooling, government schooling, improved health facilities. And these are facts. The Delhi government, AAP government had done some of these things. So these are things that appeal to them, and particularly to the farmers in Punjab. Free electricity and free water is a very big issue. Now, the rejection of these traditional parties in Punjab was also based on the fact that both the Congress and the Akali Dal did not implement the Swaminathan Commission recommendations. In the background of the Kisan struggle, both of them did not implement the one rank, one pension for the ex-army personnel, which is a very big issue in Punjab because they have a very, very large contingent, extremely, or probably the largest contingent of ex-army men. So there are issues, concrete issues on the basis of which these two traditional parties were rejected by the people of Punjab. And in that they found the most viable alternative is the AAP because of its performance in the Delhi government. So if it's a force that will come up, depending on what the policies are, what it is, we'll have to see. But in a democracy, everybody has the right to do it, and yes, they are doing it. They tried in Goa. You've seen what happened. They were aiming to form the government, like in Punjab. But then that didn't happen there, it happened in Punjab. But nevertheless, that they are trying to expand their footprint, which is perfectly valid in a democracy. পাহাড় কে আলাদা করবে এটা তো আগে থেকে বলছে যখন যখন নির্বাচন আসবে তো কিছু না কিছু এরকম বলবে কিন্তু কি রকম সেপারেট করবে what is the plan আমরাও বলছি Bengal's united Bengal should not be divided again. Bengal has suffered along with Punjab, the only two states that actually suffered the partition, and that wounds of the partition continue to fester. Any further division of the state of West Bengal today is not in the interest of the state or the people.
Can lead the anti-Hindutva Anti-Hindutva friend of the BJP, especially in the wake of the elections, post-state elections.
No, you either put your mask down or put it up or cover your face.
Congress can lead the anti-BJP friend.
Nobody, you see, who can lead any anti-BJP combination? That is dependent upon, as I've always told you, please do a little homework and study Indian history, that no time in an all India election has any front that formed an alternative government in the country emerged before the election. Never. It can never happen, in my opinion, given the diversity of India. Even when Indira Gandhi was defeated, when we were students, the alternative government formed by the Janata Party was formed only post-election. The National Front, Left Front was formed only post-election, which elected our VP Singh government. The United Front was formed post-election when Devgowda became the Prime Minister. In 98, the NDA was formed post-election when Vajpayee became the Prime Minister. In 2004, the UPA was formed post-election when Manmohan Singh became the Prime Minister. So who will be the leader? In United Front in 96, the leader was not the Congress. That's why, so who will be the leader is something that we determine post-election only. In 2004, Congress was the leader of the UPA. In 1996, Congress supported the United Front. In 1977, the Congress was defeated by the Janata Party. So who will be the leader, it all depends on the outcome of the election. But every state, in every state, there will be these sort of combinations that will maximize, depending on the situation, the parties and forces to defeat the principal target for India's interest at that point of time, and today it is the BJP. So every state will have its own combinations.
Sir, electoral political and election practice, you told him before it. One thing is that if you go to the national one, your poll is that BJP. And if you come to the state one, it is the film. Then you already told that BJP is not existing. BJP doesn't exist. You already told them. That was in the meeting.
Where?
So, do you think that there is a chance of post-Bamram adjustment? Post-election Bamram adjustment?
No, you see, we have never neglected or ignored the fact of the danger of BJP, irrespective of the major political force in the state. In Tripura, at that point of time, BJP was not existing, except it came into existence. Why? Because of the defection from Congress, from Trinamool, from everybody else. Otherwise, what was the BJP? It is basically a party that is formed in many states only by purchasing the party, MLAs or leaders from other parties. So that is why what the tactics of the BJP is not on the basis of building a party, etc., but actually importing all the people who will be lost, have been taken over by the other parties and swallowing those parties. So that is, so in every state, therefore, the BJP is definitely a principal enemy, not only in the country, all over the country. But in each specific state, which are the forces which permit the BJP to thrive? Which are the forces that actually allow the BJPs to... Bengal has its own history, how BJP entered Bengal, who brought BJP into Bengal, who allied with the BJP, not only in Bengal but in India. That is why it's come. And what are the methods that they employ in practicing their democracy? So all this is very clear. So therefore, we are saying the principal target is to isolate and defeat the BJP nationally. State-wise will go depending on what is the concrete situation in that state.
But after housing these type of analysis, no document
In our country. So we'll have to think of how to actually create a level playing field in politics, that is democracy. It's not only the question of Facebook and influence of social media, but it's also the question of influence of money power. What is the electoral bonds doing? When we opposed it in the parliament, I remember I told the Prime Minister was sitting in front when the former Finance Minister, who unfortunately is no longer alive, but Arun Jaitley, who was my contemporary in university, where I was telling him, you're legalizing political corruption. This is actually the legalization of political corruption, electoral bonds. And through that, the entire level playing field is completely distorted. What is a free and fair election in India with this sort of money power that they display? Control over social media, control over money power, control over government machinery. This is the surest recipe to ensure that democracy is not democratic.
তৃণমূলের একটা পরিষ্কার অভিযোগ আছে যে এই স্টেটে বিজেপিকে বাঁচিয়ে রেখে সিপিএম 2018 সাল থেকে যত ভোট হয়েছে সিপিএমের ভোট বিজেপিতে চলে যাচ্ছে এবং তারা তলায় তলায় অ্যাডজাস্টমেন্টে চলছে তৃণমূলের বিরুদ্ধে লড়াই করা কি বলবেন?
अभी এটা সব আমরা রিভিউ করলাম, এটি কীরকম হলো এই ভোট পার্সেন্টেজ কীরকম কমালো, and also the fact is what is this BJP's vote? What is this BJP's vote? Half of the vote is also the previous Trinamool vote. Who are the BJP leaders today? বলুন, অ্যাসেম্বলিতে কে বিজেপি লিডার? তো এটাই তো বিজেপি ভোট মানে কি ভোট? তো যেরকম বিজেপির পার্টির কম্পোজিশন যেটা আছে, যেরকম অন্য পার্টি থেকে লোককে নিয়ে যায়, তো ওটা দিয়ে ও যে নিজের ভোট যদি ভাববেন আপনি,
প্রচুর চাকরির ব্যবস্থা করা হচ্ছে, কিন্তু গোটা রাজ্য জুড়ে বিভিন্ন জেলায় আনএমপ্লয়মেন্ট ছড়িয়ে পড়েছে এবং প্রচুর জায়গায় চাকরি প্রার্থীরা এডুকেশন করছে।
ন্যাচুরালি করবে, আনএমপ্লয়মেন্ট ঘটবে তো এডুকেশন তো হবেই। আমরা বলছি এই এডুকেশনকে আরও স্ট্রেনথেন করতে হবে, এটা ন্যাচুরাল হবেই। আগামী দিন আপনি দেখবেন আনএমপ্লয়মেন্ট নিয়ে, প্রাইস রাইজ নিয়ে অনেক পাবেন, পিপল স্ট্রাগলসটা অনেক জায়গাতে বাড়বে, অ্যান্ড বাড়বার উচিত, ওটাকে আমরাও সমর্থন করি।
সবাইকে একটা ঐক্যবদ্ধভাবে এই ঘটনাতে লড়তে হবে। বিজেপিকে ঠেকাতে গেলে অল ইন্ডিয়া পাশে, সেক্ষেত্রে যে দল যে স্টেটে শক্তিশালী বেশি তাদের পাশে কম শক্তিশালীদের এসে দাঁড়াতে হবে, এই তার চিন্তাধারা। এইটাকে আপনারা কিভাবে দেখছেন?
আবার এক্ষুনি তো বললাম ওর আনসারে, আমি নিবেদন করি আপনার মুখ্যমন্ত্রীকে একটু ইন্ডিয়ান হিস্ট্রিকে একটু ধ্যান করুন। বলুন কখন হলো অল ইন্ডিয়া ফ্রন্ট নির্বাচনের আগে বিজেপিকে হারাবার জন্য অল ইন্ডিয়া লেভেলে? একটু প্লিজ স্টাডি করুন, এটা হবে স্টেট লেভেলে, আর তারপরে নির্বাচন শেষ হওয়ার পরে অল ইন্ডিয়া লেভেলে ও ফরমেশন আসবে। আমি আপনাকে এক্সাম্পলসও দিলাম, এক্সাম্পলস না, আমি আপনাকে হিস্টোরিক্যাল ফ্যাক্টস দিলাম। 1977 থেকে 2004 यूपीए, तो ওরকমই হবে। और নির্বাচন আসবার 2 বছর আগে হর বার আমরা দেখলাম, কখনো থার্ড ফ্রন্ট, কখনো রিজনাল পার্টি ফ্রন্ট, কখনো ফোর্থ ফ্রন্ট, কখনো এটা ফ্রন্ট ওটা ফ্রন্ট, এরকম নাম আসবে নির্বাচনের পরে। তখন ওদের ফ্রন্টের কিছু গভর্নমেন্ট হলো, na hobe. Those dynamics are different. I mean, that is the Indian.
Post-election strategy bring rate to phenomenon. As you are saying, what you are just saying, that is the interpretation.
No, let us see what will be the post-election, the correlation of forces. What will be the correlation post-election? That also has to be seen.
About the Punjab election, what about the Goa election? Goa election, due to vote cutting, TMC and Congress for the third leader. So what is your
Well, the analysis of the voting figures, etc., whatever preliminary, it was shown that a large amount of Congress vote has been cut by these two parties, which helped the BJP. But that is still preliminary. In the sense, we'll have to wait and see. But the fact that there were so many parties in the fray, competing for the same space, that gave the BJP the advantage. And this time, remember, BJP got in 2019 a 51% vote share in Goa. This time its vote share is 33%. But it still formed the government because of the division in the opposition votes.
একটা প্রশ্ন আছে যে কাশ্মীর ফাইল নিয়ে যে মুভিটা রিলিজ হয়েছে এবং যেটা নিয়ে বারবার একটা চর্চা এবং বিজেপিরা বলছে যে বিজেপি থেকে যে 𝒂𝒆𝒏𝒕 এবং সেটা নিয়ে বলছে যে এতদিনে একটা সঠিক মুভি রিলিজ হয়েছে এবং বম্বের যত রানি ছিল তা ভুলে গেছে এই কাশ্মীর ফাইল নিয়ে কি বলবেন?
কি হয়ে গেছে?
বম্বের ফিল্ম ইন্ডাস্ট্রি যত গ্লানি ছিল ধুয়ে মুছিয়ে সাফ হয়ে গেছে এই কাশ্মীর ফাইল রিলিজ হওয়ার।
আপনার আসবার আগে বলে দিলাম আমি বোধহয়, আনসার দিলাম। হ্যাঁ, আনসার দিলাম। আপনি কাশ্মীর ফাইলসে যেটা বলছেন আরে, আপনার কাশ্মীরি পণ্ডিতসের ডেথ ফিগার্স অফিসিয়াল গভর্নমেন্ট যেটা দিচ্ছে, মোদি প্রশাসন যেটা দিচ্ছে, ওটা হচ্ছে কাশ্মীরি পণ্ডিতস 89 কাশ্মীরি পণ্ডিতসের ডেথ হলো টেররিস্ট অ্যাটাক। আমি এটাও বললাম, আমি এটা সব কন্ডেম করলাম। আমার পার্টি ইজ দ্য ফোর ফ্রন্ট ওদেরকে রিহ্যাবিলিটেট করবার জন্য। কিন্তু 89 কাশ্মীরি পণ্ডিত, and the number of people killed from all other faiths is how many? 1,635.
This is purely communal or not?
Yes, purely terrorist attacks on the people of Kashmir. People of Kashmir. Communal is, you are making it communal. How do you know the killing of so-and-so is communal and so-and-so is not communal? Human life is human life. Okay? And this is also ominous for your communal point of view. When I said human life, the azan begins. From your communal point of view, this is also wrong. Okay? I think historical circumstances will end the thing. So thank you very much. Okay.